I'm Craig Stubing. I'm here with the USC Digital Repository.
Yeah, I'm Sam Gussman. I'm CTO of the USC Libraries and head of the USC Digital Repository, where we're preserving the testimonies and interviews that you guys are taking.
I'm Catherine Gowan. I'm the program manager of the USC repository, and it's such an honor to be here tonight.
I'm Nick Camardo. I'm the digital imaging manager for the USC Digital Repository, and I've been working hands-on with the interviews collections.
It must have been Disney's Saturday morning cartoons, I think, as a kid. Probably Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers animated cartoons, yeah.
It was either David Carradine on Kung Fu or it was the cartoon Hong Kong Phooey. I was getting in trouble when I was a kindergartner from hitting people.
For me, it was the Little House on the Prairie, and I'll never forget it.
Probably Leave It to Beaver. I grew up on the classics, watching whatever my parents watched on TV Land.
I think watching television every day, as a kid, it really gave me this sense of storytelling and this ability to want to use visual mediums to tell stories, and led me into film school at USC of all things. And I think if it wasn't watching TV with my family or with my siblings, it wouldn't have given me that idea that I could go out and create stories myself.
I'm in charge of the technology for the USC Shoah Foundation, as well as the libraries and the repository. And TV and the technology around the collecting of it and the broadcasting and the shooting has allowed us to capture history in a way that is amazing. I mean, for years we had these super texts and writing like the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, but now we have a chance for having collections with super text and audiovisual material. It's because of all the technology around TV that's really allowed us to get audiovisual history and keep it.
For me, it was the exposure and knowing that there's a world out there other than San Jose, California.
What impact has television had on me? I don't know. I mean, I work in preservation, so I always think about how many shows did we lose because the technology to preserve media didn't exist, right? And we come to television as a broadcast medium 50, 60, 70 years after it's really had a huge cultural impact on our society. And so, being a young person and being equipped to preserve television, I wonder, how far can we push it? How much can we preserve? And then what are we doing to preserve the new shows that we're creating now? There's so much content on streaming platforms. And I always wonder, what does the preservation effort look like to keep that content around for future generations?
I've been with the Shoah Foundation for 28 years, and I was there with them having the conversations all along, and it's been super exciting whether we were participating with my Shoah Foundation hat on or as the library hat on, as we bring in the testimonies that you guys have been collecting in your archives. And the biggest issue is that everything rots. Conservatively, you get 50 years for film, 20 years for videotape, 5 years for hard drive, 2 years for optical like DVD. The newer the tech, the faster it rots. So digitization is not preservation. In fact, it's the opposite. But we work very hard once all this content is digitally preserved to make sure that it never goes away.
I can't even begin to describe it. It's what motivates me to do what I do. It's really, hearing that something's lost. We never want to admit that something's lost, but it really pushes me to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to prevent that from happening to other collections, to other television, to other movies, and what have you.
For me, the idea of television, it was a way for my family to kind of come together, in the evening and kind of have this shared experience, this kind of collective thing that we could look forward to, every week, every night, talk about. And it really just kind of became this kind of glue, I think, to our family that really nothing else did. Anything else we did, play Monopoly or a board game, and we'd always end up angry at each other. But TV, we'd come together and we would laugh at the same jokes, and we'd look forward to it every week. And it kind of just became this really important part of our family dynamic.
For me, it's the engineers, simply all of the people coming together to be able to build all these incredible technologies to communicate and for people to learn. And I've just had many mentors from many years of television that have been amazing, and as an engineer, it's a fantastic environment to immerse yourself in.
Yeah, the perseverance of the actors, just being able to have the patience to do something over and over again until you reach perfection.
Yeah, so definitely, but my non-answer is somebody I always looked up to is Gilbert Gottfried. He had Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast, where he sort of used his podcast to create an oral history of television and movies, interviewing everybody who is behind the scenes. And the work he did with Frank Santopadre on that podcast, to me, is like, it honestly pushed me to do what I do today. I remember really vividly listening to the early episodes with people like Dick Van Dyke and just amazing content that he created in preserving some of the stories behind television.
It makes me feel great to know that we're helping preserve this really important history that I think a lot of people just don't know about, right? People don't know about this rich and important history of television, not only the technology of it, but also that the importance that television has had in our society and how it's shaped today. And I think if we don't preserve this, to be able to look back at how television has evolved as both a medium and through the types of stories that are told, it's really hard to understand where we are as a society now and how we can learn how to grow as a society to be a more equitable and better society in the future.
And how do you feel about doing this? How do you feel about doing the Showa Foundation and the TV Academy?
Yeah, so what we've done at USC is the Showa Foundation was sort of the first large audiovisual collection brought there, but we made sort of generic versions of the systems to take care of the 50,000 hours of material, the 120,000 hours of testimony, 50,000 interviews there, and we've made them generically available for many archives to use. The Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences uses those archive systems. You guys use those systems, the Television Academy. It's really, at USC, we're trying to be the place where, if Google's the place you go to search for bits of data, for the academic, the saved originals, you come to USC, and we're caring for them and providing what people need to do to research and learn from those interviews.
I'm so incredibly proud of the work that we do at USC, and it's a critical part of preserving history. So great about it.
Preservation, I mean, I'm so honored to be a part of this project. I get to work hands-on with a lot of the tapes. So, in the presentation when they're talking about media deteriorating, I've seen firsthand portions of interviews that, the tape might be on its last legs. And so having the opportunity to work with material, knowing sometimes it's the last pass, it's truly an honor to be able to work with media, especially the interviews project.